What's up, everybody? We're doing a quick stream today. Like an hour or so, maybe a little bit longer. I'm going on vacation this week. Oh, I gotta go away. What's up, Crypto Milk? Good morning. We'll take a look here at the markets. We'll go over some expected moves, a lot of stocks to watch.
Well, the nice thing is that I can see the edges.
Good morning there, Extro. What's up, Tony? Nike. If you guys want, we can pull up some individual names so you can put them in the chat. I'm gonna go over some of the tight list. If you're not in the Discord and you don't know what that is something that I send out once a week to the Discord group, to the patrons that support me. I'm gonna be going over a lot of those today. So buckle up. Moonraker, no names, just candles. Oh man, good times. Moonraker, you do you talk to any of those people still? I know that some, I feel like they're in some sort of Discords with some people, like Get Some, we got Chewy. I haven't heard from Monkey for a while. Miss all those guys. They were fun to have in there. Yeah. Okay. We're going to start looking at the S&P 500 today. It's where the DJs reign. Put me in it. Is it? Yeah, I want to be in it. I want to hang out. Okay, so it's kind of morning. It's morning for me. It's 9 o'clock a.m. here where I'm at. I think we're open for a bounce. Yeah, Luca. I'll go over that a little bit more. So far for today, we're going to take a look at market net flow. We'll get a good kind of sight on the markets. As it stands in this current moment, we have the red line above the green line. They're both below zero. And we just recently lost convergence of red. So it's been basically sell side activity for the majority of the trading session today. And we just recently went to gray convergence. And you can see once we did that, we started kind of going up in the S&P 500. That's normal because once we lose that convergence, it typically moves a counter trend move to what the divergence actually is. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now. So it's not like it's that great of a look by any means for market net flow as it stands in this current moment. Now, if I go down to the 65-minute time frame and I look at SPX right here, this is the whole sell-off that we've been kind of going through right now. And it's been pretty choppy. We've seen some bounces and it sells off. A lot of the times, for some reason, it happens at like the same time at night or the same time during the day, which we're coming up on like an hour. But this is what happens when you're in that negative gamma territory. And the gamma flip line as it stands right now is at 55.25. Okay, so when we're below that, that's where dealers look to buy into buying, selling to selling, and you get these moves. You get wild and crazy moves. Now, if I zoom back, right? If I zoom back, if you follow me on Twitter, you've probably saw this chart. But we talked about this key level over here being the gamma flip line when it was back over here. We said below that, you'd want to be more bearish. Above it, you'd want to be bullish. Or it was 5,500. It was basically this zone in here. Well, we broke from that. And, we recently talked about this level potentially coming in to be important again. And you can see price does have somewhat memory in this area. We've undercut it. We came back up. We've undercut it. We came back up. And you can see we came back in today and came right back into that zone. And we're still managing to hold it. So with that said, I think that there's a couple key levels that we got to hone in on the 15-minute time frame for the S&P 500. And once again, I talked about this one on Twitter. You can see this low and this low. This could very well be a potential double bottom. The reason why I say potential is because we haven't actually cleared that level right there. So if we do clear this level right here, it opens the door for a measured move from this low to this high. You measure it right back up. It's pretty much up to the weekly expected move, maybe a little bit higher, okay? Now this is in this scenario, we're still below a declining 5-day moving average. So it could be a potential bullish setup into end of month, but you got to understand we're in negative gamma territory. We're below a declining 5-day moving average. So you got to make sure that if you do take a long position, you need to have your risk well thought out, because it's very, very normal for price to continue its trend. So in the short term, the trend is currently down. Now we have, 1 day here, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, and 5 day. So at the end of today, we're going to lose obviously this data for this 5-day moving average. And then the next day, right? We're going to gain this data, and then we're going to lose this data. Then we're going to add on to this data. So it's going to start averaging that 5-day moving average between these days, which means that this is going to pull in, right? Because currently it's above there and we've had more price action below it. So it's going to pull in a little bit more, which could be actually technically a good sign, because price, it could very well, if we can hold in this area, it could flatten out. We might be able to overtake it. And that could be a good sign where we could flatten out to potentially turn up in the near future. Now, on the flip side to that, you can look at this and say, I have a high, a lower high, right? We have a low, we have a higher low, and a higher low. And all you're doing right now is kind of compressing price, right? And if I zoom out like this, you can say, well, it's kind of flagging. It's like a bear flag, or a bear pennant or whatever. And yeah, you'd be right to say that. And so the ideal situation would be, it would continue back down to the downside. And we got to keep that in our back pocket. And that's why the focusing on risk, if you're going long, so a stop here or a stop here, once it breaks this neckline, so if you take that trade, you have an idea, you're buying into strength, and then you're putting a stop in place just in case if it starts to turn around. That's one way to approach it. Another way to approach it is just wait. Maybe we do get a gap up the next day or whatever, and it comes back in and consolidates, and the 5-day moving average turns around and it resets up for another trade outside of that, where it gives you a little bit better opportunity in that case. But yeah, we're seeing a little bit of a bounce right here. Market net flow, once again, it's not really all that supportive of much. So it's really no edge there. Our 0-date levels for the day right now, we got 54.30 to the downside, 5,500 to the upside. So we have those marked on our screen. So basically for today's trading session, I'd say this would probably be the upper zone level to watch out for potential resistance. Okay. And then obviously the lower level for support, I'd say right down in here. Kind of where it's at. We'll make it green. Could be technically higher. Could just be this yellow box actually, but. Yeah, I'll check Bitcoin. I'll write down a list of all the stuff you guys want to check on. Hey, thanks, Metal Mike. I appreciate that. I'll pull up McDonald's, Nike, yeah, all that stuff. Tasty. Do it, Moonraker. Let me know if you do, though. If the guys are cool with it, obviously. They're like, no. Oh, you did invite me? Honestly, I don't even know. I don't know how to even look. Oh, you didn't ask anyone? Just ask them, dude. I don't want to just jump in there like, oh shit, why is he here? That's funny. I honestly, I don't even know where to go for invites. Where do I even get an invite? I have no idea how most of this stuff works. This Discord stuff is confusing, but I'll keep an eye on it. I'll keep an eye out for it. They'll just make a new disc. That's funny. What's up, FT? Okay, so that's the quick look there. We're going to take a look at some individual names. I'll pull up. I want to pull up the Qs really quick. Oh, and for those that don't know, I guess we can pull up the expected moves. So the weekly expected moves for the S&P 500 for the SPY. 555 for the upper weekly, and then down beneath this is 533 and some change, right? We'll just call it 534. 534 below us, 555 above us. Now this week, it's going to be a busy, busy week, right? You can see, if you look at like the vol structure, volatility is clearly pricing in a larger expected move, larger implied volatility for this week. And it's very simple as to why. We have monster earnings this week, okay? Today we had McDonald's, big whoop. But Tuesday after the close, we got AMD, we got Microsoft, right? Starbucks, not really a big name, but basically Microsoft is going to be the big one there. AMD could definitely move things as if other semiconductors kind of play along with that. You have Meta, you have Apple, you have Amazon, Intel, and then you have some big energy names too as well. So this is probably, I would believe that this is the largest earnings week of the earnings season. So you got all of that. And then to add more to that, you get Tuesday, you get some Case-Shiller numbers, S&P Case-Shiller numbers. You got JOLTS. Wednesday, we got Chicago PMI, some unemployment or employment numbers. You get the Fed interest rate decision, and you get the Fed press conference. So we have a lot of stuff going on. Thursday, we have ISM manufacturing PMI, and Friday, we get non-farm payrolls, unemployment. So we get jobs numbers, we get the largest, earnings week, we get the Fed. So yeah, buckle up. It's going to be a wild one. It's going to be a wild one. Okay. And just to give you like even more clarity here, the weekly expected move for the SPX was it's $104.10 plus or minus the SPX. $104 is one that we haven't seen for quite some time. We probably have to go back to this last earnings. Like last week, it was a volatile week, right? It was $84 expected move. The week prior to that was $63. The week prior to that was $65. The week prior to that was $58. The week prior to that was $63. So we're talking a large expected move for the week. And I would expect that we're going to hit every ounce of that and probably some, given the context of what's to come. So yeah, this could be a pretty wild week. And coming into the end of July on this election year, I did some research here and I didn't find much of a correlation. And I sent that out on Twitter. We'll see if I can pull it up. But I shared the charts of the last 20 election years. And I even said if it was Republican or Democrat, whoever was the incumbent. And actually, funny enough, do I still have that actually? I do have all the charts right here. Okay, let me see if I can just pull up the Twitter post. Hey. Okay. So you typically get this like seasonal bump up into the end of the year. But when I looked at the individual years, I didn't really see like anything to be like excited about. There was really no correlation. So it was like kind of a toss up in my opinion. So somebody had said, Market Sleuth has said, he said, oh, but like, what's it look like when basically the incumbent drops out? And I looked it up and I was like, I think there was only one time or two times that the incumbent didn't rerun. And that was Lyndon B. Johnson, if I remember correctly, in 68. I think so. I can't remember. Let me see. I think I said Democrat. Yeah, 1968, Lyndon B. Johnson. So let me go back to the 1968. And I did find it funny because the chart actually kind of looked similar. So this was a Democratic sitting president. Did not run again for the second term, but he was sitting at that time. And you can see that actually we had a pretty big sell-off into the end of July, and then into August, then we saw a little bit of a ramp up. Can you do anything with this information? No. Is it cool? I think so. I think it's kind of cool information. It's like cool to see the individual individual charts. So so this is the seasonality chart, right, that we just talked about. And then all I did was I just put it into, we looked at the seasonal, like kind of look for the last 3 months, going from June to, basically August or whatever it was. And I really didn't see like there's Donald Trump, you have Barack Obama. Again, Barack Obama, you have George Bush. And this is all you can see. A lot of the times we sell off into July. Like Bill Clinton, right? We saw the sell off into July, but then we saw a massive ramp up. So not much. And like Ronald Reagan, you saw kind of a sell off into July, and at the end you saw this big pop. Dwight Eisenhower, sell off into July, then a big pop up. These are Republican sitting presidents there at that time. So I don't know. I don't think you can really do much with that, but kind of cool data. All right. Hey, thanks, Jason. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, the markets don't trade anything like that, but sometimes the seasonality does play a role, and you see like cycles and stuff like that. But obviously the market structures, the market structure is way different now than it was in like 2 years ago, like not even 2 years ago, right? This zero date option craze is pretty darn new, right? It's like fairly new. Which changed the absolute structure of things. So you can see like just some crazy things, and I think it's cool like just to look at, but yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at McDonald's. I think McDonald's earnings sucked, but I think that they went up on the news anyway. Yeah, I think that their earnings were no good from what I heard, but it didn't matter because these things got beaten down completely, and now we're seeing a bid here up 4.5% on McDonald's. Pretty wild. Okay, so I'll go over through some of these names that people have been posting, but I want to go over some of the stuff in the tight list. I think I'm just going to pull up the tight list to do that. Yeah. Okay. Oh man, that's small. Let me see if I can change this up a little bit. Maybe that might help. Kind of. We'll pull up the names on Thinkorswim as we see some, but okay, that's better. Okay, so this is the tight list. I send it out once a week. I'm gonna move this a little bit more to the side. And I look for stocks that I have a watch list with a bunch of different names in there that have been doing great, but I look for names that have been contracting that might set up for a trade idea. And there's a lot actually this week on the tight list that are setting up. So these are just some of the names, and what you'll notice is a lot of them are in really like tight bases. And a lot of financials look pretty good, right? Like you had USB over here getting pretty tight. You just got to make sure you know when earnings is coming in to play. You have LB over here. It's getting fairly tight. I think this is more of a IPO. So you might be able to anchor a volume weighted average price to see kind of where price is going on this. But LB, SMAR, right? You always got to make sure you check the volume and when they report, but we're talking a nice little consolidation in bullish context after a breakout. Look for a breakout continuation. Discovery Financial, DFS also, right? Another financial name that's been holding up rather well, kind of flagging out here. CTOS, this one has been on just a monster tear, and this one's also getting pretty tight here. I think it's actually reported earnings right here. That was that gap up, and now we're consolidating there. VRTX, we're getting pretty tight here as well, right? We try to break out of this base, then we have an inside trading day, and then a smaller day right there. Just a lot of good setups here, right? It's just coming into such a volatile week. So STEP, we have a price action is getting very tight here, just under that 50 line in a very bullish kind of bullish context there. DTM saw a nice move and is pulling back slightly in a bullish context. Foot Locker, for those that have traded this one was on the trade ideas. Foot Locker broke out today. Nice move out through that 27. So if you're in that Foot Locker trade, you can probably update your stops or do whatever you want to do. But nice solid breakout so far. HR also kind of consolidating here right at that 18. Like there's a lot of good names setting up. VRRM getting pretty tight here in bullish context with the 20 and the 50 there. You have LNTH. This thing has been kind of just consolidating here quietly with low volume, letting the averages catch up. NFG looks like it's going to try to take out the high of Friday's trading session in this little pennant pattern. Cube, also nice little flag pattern into a nice little bullish, short-term bullish trend here. AWK was one that we traded back over here, and this one broke out and is consolidating sideways. PGRE, another name that's just consolidating here very tightly. If you're not doing this, man, you could just write down these names. I'm looking at the daily time frames. These names, and just track them. If you're in the Discord already, you probably see this stuff, but I'm trying to go through it now, just to give more people an idea if you're not in it. I'm assuming the majority of people that are watching this stream right now are probably from the Discord anyway. Mankind or MNKD, I forget the name of this company. This one, it's a lower price stock, but it is consolidating here. I don't know what the volume looks like or when earnings is, but it's getting very tight, right? So you look for breakouts above the prior day or today and see if you can hold that trend. ITT also just literally a very tight inside trading day after some consolidation here. You have the 20-day pulling up, another one that looks pretty decent. I mean, look at these things. AMRX, AORT, these pullbacks, digestions with the 20-day coming back up into them. And I know I'm going fast here. I'm just showing you kind of really quickly what it is that I see in some of these names. EMR, which I believe is a utility name, also kind of consolidating here in a flag after a nice big run up. RY, consolidating. Get FLS, just flagging here too. American Express, right? Another bank stock that's kind of consolidating up and around those areas. Look at Burlington Coat Factory. This thing has been just crazy. So this one's also putting in another pennant here right at around that 250. Currently, today's trading action is the high right now is above the prior 3 trading days from pretty tight price action. So that's kind of nice to see. Public Storage, I do know Public Storage looks like a good chart, but Public Storage is reporting I know that they're reporting, I think, on the 31st. Prudent, PRU, which I think is an insurance. This one went on a nice run. That's consolidating. FDX saw a huge earnings gap, saw some follow through, and now it's consolidating sideways. IR also consolidating. TXT, nice little consolidation while the averages are catching up. So there's the reason why I'm showing this is because, there's been a lot of fear in the market, a lot of rotation out of big mega cap stocks, but there's still a lot of different opportunities out there that have small risk, potential good side reward if they play out in the right favor of the trade. ADT, that thing looks like it's going to start making a move here soon. Maybe earnings is around the corner. Urban Outfitters, URBN, EPAC, tight. The list goes on, man. QRVO, IoT, right at about 38. TJ Maxx even looks pretty solid here. Maybe a shot back up to 115 or higher. We see a little bit of a pullback, kind of floating around that 20-day moving average. Spotify had a big earnings move, and it's kind of coming in a little bit, wedging here. So you wait and you see if it can break the high of today, tomorrow maybe. Could be one to watch. FLR. Look at this little flag into these averages that are turning up. ARMK. Nice little base right at about 34, 34.50 would be that kind of pivot area. KAR, pull back into, now we had the 20 crossing through the 50. So a little bit of a consolidation, a little bit of a flag happening here. Through 18, you can maybe go 18.50 and it's a measured move. That's a, you know, a flag play out for a measured move would be pretty nice. Just a whole bunch of different stuff. Axon, I don't know when these are reporting earnings, but that's getting pretty tight these last 4 trading days. AZZ, this was one that we talked about right before earnings that it looked like it was going to pop, and it did, and it's consolidating here. Docu looks pretty good. That's a popular name. So Docu, this one's been kind of going sideways for a long time, but I will state that it's back above the 20, the 50 day is kind of declining, the 200 days starting to turn up, but it is getting pretty tight here, right in this area. And today's price action, you can see it's just an inside trading day, right? So if it breaks above the high, maybe tomorrow or even today, like that could maybe create some sort of a continuation or a little bit of a pop. If you look at the weekly time frame, it could potentially be a stage 1 accumulation, maybe an early stage to a markup. This would be obviously the markup phase, distribution, decline. Then we, you know, gone sideways for a very long time. And, you know, it could very well be the time where we start to see stuff regulate and start to move up a little bit higher. But you can see we did make a nice comeback, and then the last couple of candles on the weekly time frame, they're a little bit indecisive. So you just got to make sure that you have your stops in place, because it can obviously do the opposite and break down and go against you when it expands. Is this list from a screener or MAs? This list is something that I come up with every week for the Discord group. It's from my watch list. I look at thousands of charts every week, and I'll go through them, and then I'll pull names that I like. And then I dwindle it down into a tight list, and the tight list is all the stocks from the watch list that are kind of contracting and looking like they could be making up for a move here in the very near future. And those ones are the ones that I like because they typically offer smaller amount of risk on breakouts, right? And potentially good reward too if they start to do continuations. The majority of them are for long setups. The ones that I look at, they can be honestly traded either way. But I only specifically look for breakouts to the upside. Doesn't mean that they can't break down though. Once volatility expands, it can go up or down very quickly. All right, so I'm gonna get a list here. So that's pretty much those for the tight list. Hey, what's up, Riff? So we got yeah, we'll look up Qs. I know somebody said IWM. We got PFE, UNH. Got 3M. Put your tickers in the chat if you want me to pull up these stocks. Yeah, McDonald's was talked about, Nike, TLT. What's up, Clapton? Good morning. We can check on ES futures. Yeah. We'll do that actually before we get into this. Somebody had mentioned SoFi. UNP. Oh, sorry. I thought. For some reason I read UNH. I even wrote down UNH. Okay. SMCI, AT&T, SLV, XLU. Gosh, this spell check, man. JPM, Goldman Sachs. Yeah, the financials look pretty good. Let's see, we'll check into them though. Goldman Sachs. Starbucks. I gotta figure out how to turn off autocorrect. I don't actually trade options, Sam. I just trade equities. It's been a while since I traded options. Actually, legitimately tried to trade them. This year, I've traded one contract, one time. The year before that, I traded a little bit more, and then the year, then that's pretty much it. No particular reason. I just always found comfortability in just trading equities. Trading equities is hard enough. Then you add time into the equation. It makes it even more difficult. At least directional. But yeah, if I were to trade it, I'd probably just trade spreads. Credit spreads. Protocols or whatever. I just don't. Okay, let's take a quick look at the S&P 500 really quick. We'll look at, somebody had mentioned ES. I don't like seeing that. Let me go back to settings, futures, adjust for contract changes. I don't care about contract change events. Okay, so for example, on ES, we're getting a little bit of sell side and we're seeing a little bit of a bounce. Nothing really too exciting at this current moment, but we did just, it's a pullback in an uptrend. That's all it is right now. So what we haven't seen is a lower high. I mean, you can maybe call this a lower high, I guess. I don't think that that's a significant enough bounce to call that. I feel like this would be the level right here. If I go to the weekly time frame, whoa, that's the 15-minute time frame, weekly time frame, you can see that the outside trading week, which is a reversal candle, right? It got above the high of the prior week and then it closed at the low. It engulfed, the body engulfed the entire prior week. So that right there is the high to really take out the 57.21. So right now that is a reversal type candle. We saw that same thing here, right? Reversal type candle over here. It engulfed the prior week body and we had some follow through to the downside. And we're getting some follow through into the 10-week moving average that is currently holding up, kind of floating in and around that area. The 15-minute time frame for ES, it looks like it's getting hung up right at about that 55.35, 55.40 range. And you can see it's come up there multiple times and keeps on getting rejected. And you can really see that in the SPY too, right? Like the SPY saw a little bit of a bounce, but where did it bounce to? It just bounced to a declining 5-day moving average. It's above the week to date, so above the daily anchor volume weighted average price. It's above last month close. So this right here, the 54409, the S&P 500 is actually positive on the month because this is last month's close, 54409 on the SPY. So we're slightly above it. And you can see we've kind of traded in and around last month's close multiple times. The weekly expected move for the SPY this week is plus or minus $6.59. So we have a wide open range. And a lot of stuff going on this week. Take a look at Disney. Yeah, we can pull up Disney too. Is Disney finally making a move? PSA earnings. Yeah, we'll pull up our PSA earnings. Let's take a look at some of this stuff now. So Q's is the one that's obviously been more relative, like weak, but right now it's doing decent, right? It's up 70 basis points, seeing a little bit of a bounce off some pretty significant sell side. I mean, in just a very short period of time, we've almost went to correction territory, or did we? Yeah, 9.5%. 10% is considered a correction. I would consider this a correction, and it happened fairly quickly. So it's going to be interesting to see where this bounces to, if it bounces. And we talked about the 15-minute time frame, how you want to watch the series of lower highs, right? And the higher lows. So it is still kind of compressing underneath a 5-day moving average. So as we lose this data over here in the next couple of days, it's going to be interesting to see how it starts to turn out. IWM, we talked about on the prior stream on this specific day and how to set up a trade. We'll walk through that. So the idea here was when this candle was forming, we talked about it on this day, it was inside of this candle. And we said, if it breaks above the high of this candle, you can, in theory, enter long, and you'd put a stop at the low of the current day. So it did that. It broke above it. We put a stop, right? And then you had some continuation follow through up into and around this area. Today, right, we're getting a little bit of a push back down in this prior area of supply. So if I go to the 15-minute time frame, right, if you took that trade, you can update your stop, or even update your stop, whatever the case may be. But as it stands right now, we're above a 5-day moving average. It's inclining, seeing a little bit of weakness right here, and it's kind of just getting chopped up in this area. So probably needs a little bit more time to settle to get a good idea as to what price can do. It could be interesting to see if tech does catch a bid, is IWM going to calm down a little bit? Because when tech started selling off, IWM really started catching a bid, and the main trade in IWM took place over here, right? And we talked about this day in, day out for a while here while it was setting up, but it wasn't just IWM, it was also MDY, right? MDY was getting super tight. These are mid-cap names. That saw a nice big pop to the upside. I think we talked about even VOT, I think it was. Yeah, Vanguard mid-cap growth. That saw a nice pop. This one's since been faded, probably because it has to do with the growth, mid-cap growth, and growthy names got pulled back in a little bit. Okay, so let's look at Pfizer. Even mRNA looked pretty good. So Pfizer was down here we talked about, and it's been consolidating. Now it's actually picking up some steam. A little 3-day consolidation right here. I would like to see it come in a little bit more and chop sideways, or even come in and let this 200-day start to flatten out to turn back up with these 20-day and the 50-day. So I don't like entering right around here, even though that it looks like there's more upside. Earnings is, I guess we got to see what earnings brings, but that's tomorrow. So if I go into the trade tab, it's about $1.56, which is not crazy, the expected move. So $1.56. It's about a 5% plus or minus expected move. So you're looking at something like this. So it'd be interesting to see if it does pull in, even if it does come down to the 1 standard deviation, the lower range. It might still, from a technical perspective, might actually look pretty good. And if it breaks out to the upside, I'd wait to see how it closes and how it consolidates from that standpoint. mRNA, I was interested in. This one's coming into earnings too, but you can see mRNA had a pretty massive breakout this year. You can see we had this a low, higher lows, and then we saw a nice breakout, back test, and boom. And since that point, it came back in, and price action here is getting very tight. Right back in and around this area. So it's like, okay, if you go long, you can have a stop under here and try to play it to the upside. The only thing is, obviously, we have earnings, which throws a wrench in a lot of stuff. Because if you establish a new position into earnings, you're kind of like, it's kind of a coin toss, right? So that's August 1st. So you have a little bit of time. It's about an $11 expected move, $11.24. That is pretty sizable. It is about a 10% plus or minus. So up to the 50-day from where we currently stand, or down to close to around the 200-day. UNP, the railroad, Union Pacific. So this one did get earnings out of the way. And this one looks not bad, actually. So nice move here. We had earnings come in a little bit, but we've seen a little bit of a balance, and it's actually holding above that rising 200-day. The 50-day is pulling in. The 20-day is turning up. So if I were to be long UNP, I'd probably just have a stop under this earnings low. And actually, to get even more specific on something like this, I would just go like that. Pull up UNP. I would probably just anchor volume weighted average price to the earnings, or even right here. I don't know exactly where it's at. But yeah, I would say the stop would be probably in around this area, or that swing low right here on like the smaller time frames. So yeah, UNP is holding up rather well. It hasn't gone anywhere for the year though, right? So we're basically flat on the year. Let's look at the weekly time frame. I mean, weekly time frame doesn't look too bad. You have the 30-week up, 40-week up, the 10-week starting to turn up. You have the MACD that's crossing above and going to zero. I mean, this could be just a large, cupping sort of pattern. And then right now, we had last week, it was an inside trading week. We have currently, we broke the high of last week, and we're kind of floating in and around that area. So yeah, it's actually not a bad looking chart. Obviously, if you look back to the left of the screen, it hasn't gone anywhere for quite some time, but I like the risk. I like how it's kind of setting up here longer term. So if it's a longer term hold, maybe, you know, look at something like this or something like that. And if it can break through this level, man, that could be a monster. Yeah, so 3M had its largest day in history on earnings. And let me just tell you, this chart looked amazing even leading up to it. So look at all this stuff. So you had a nice contraction here, boom, it popped up on earnings, it consolidated, boom, we saw follow through. And then from that point, we just built this nice base at up and around 106. And then obviously earnings came and we rocketed through. Now, I don't like to just enter in blindly, but what I do keep in mind now is now that we have power in this move, I wait to see how price digests it. And right now we're pulling in a little bit, like not much, right? After a huge move like that. So if we do pull in a little bit and we start consolidating and price action, right, goes from a large range to smaller range, volume dries up, I'd be watching very closely for a flag pattern or a bullish consolidation, something like that. And then I would look for a continuation of some sort where it pulls in and then potentially breaks that 128.65 high. Right? So you can see the 5-day moving average is way down here. You can probably an anchor. Actually, here you go. We'll just make it even more simpler to really look at this. So MMM, look at this. You just anchor a volume weighted average price and watch that level. Watch this level. 123. Okay, we haven't actually tagged, maybe right over here, but I don't know if I want to count that, this kind of zone in here, but so I'd look at that, and then obviously, so week to date, right? So this was the high and the week to date. So now we're pinching between this anchored volume weighted average price and this one. So I wouldn't buy into the level, but if it does come in and you start to see strength from that level, that might be an opportunity for an early catch as the 5-day cap moves up and so forth. But I'd be watching down into this range and seeing how it consolidates, because it can just turn right back up too. That's how I would play MMM after earnings. All right. McDonald's. The Golden Arches. CEG. Yeah, we'll pull up CEG. Hey, what's up, Blue? What's up, Blue? I think Tom Lee was out saying that IWM is going to have like a 14% up month or something like that. Can somebody verify that? In August or something like that? I don't know. It's a big month if that is going to be true. I never see, like, I always get we always get the forecast, but it's like, how do you come to that? Like, where do you come up with 14%? Because if I go to IWM, I go to like the trade tab. Let's just look out a month and let's see here. Okay, so actually I already know the move. So let me go to IWM. Did I put in the monthly expected moves here? Oh no, I don't know them yet. Well, I guess we can, because it's not the end of the month, but I'll look up end of August right now. So right now we're looking at $13.76 expected move. Yeah, I don't know how you get to 14% in the month of August, because a $13 expected move is what the options market currently has priced in. Obviously that can change as we get closer to the end of the month, but that's like around a 6 to 7% move. So he's talking like 2 standard deviation. which is always possible, but the likelihood of that happening gets smaller and smaller. So it's almost like you just put out a forecast that sounds crazy and it'll get a lot of attention, but you're going to miss a lot more frequently with crazier forecasts. It's just a probability. I don't know. Okay, so McDonald's, did I already talk about McDonald's? A little bit. Yeah, McDonald's had earnings. It didn't look good, but stock didn't care. Seen a nice little move today, but overall, we're just been going sideways in somewhat of a downtrend. Probably wait to see how this one kind of digests and consolidates, see if we can get some consolidation. Maybe we can play it back up to the upside, but I don't really see necessarily the greatest of trades right here. I mean, we did have a nice reversal on this specific day. Like this reversal right here came on some good volume. So we gapped way down and we closed higher, pulled in, saw that. It's kind of like how Starbucks looked. Right, Starbucks, we gapped or opened lower, we closed at the high, we pulled in a little bit, then we saw a big strong move, and those were both on good volume. Now we're kind of pulling back again, earnings around the corner. Earnings on Starbucks, expected move is $5-6. So that can take us down to and around 69, up to and around 82. A lot of these names have gotten beaten down, and that's what's kind of like opening the doors for some of these opportunities. Like we talked about, Bristol Myers. Like look at Bristol Myers pop from when we talked about it. It just, a lot of these names are all beaten down, and I feel like that can be the case with a lot of these names, these large market cap names that have been seeing just a lot of no love. And then all of a sudden people are trying to rotate into something, potential value, which makes sense because we actually saw the rate of change between growth and value hit a low that we haven't seen since early 2000. The rate of change in like the matter of like 10 trading days, it was down 9+%, which is the largest move between growth and value that we've seen since 2000s. It's pretty wild. It's not about accuracy; it's about crazy. Are you talking about the the forecasts? Nike's starting to calm down a little bit over here. I still think Nike is undervalued here. I think Nike is a much more expensive name. It's probably going to be back above 100 at some point. I don't know how long that's going to be or when. I think it could be 120, 130, 140, 150. And I think a lot's going to happen next year. I was hoping for more downside. I was hoping to get it a little bit further down. And I think that's still potentially in the cards. I was looking more like from 60 to 70 for like a longer term hold. Like if I just want to buy some down here and just have it in the portfolio. But we didn't quite reach it down there. So you can always do like very small amount. And then if it goes down further, you can add to that. But I'm talking like a longer hold sort of ordeal for Nike. As far as like quicker trades, I mean, you kind of are getting a little bit of a pop. Maybe just watch this little trend here. It's kind of a little bit of a wedge pattern here forming. Right, we pop back up, we go retest the highs of the anchored, or we touch the highs of that earnings announcement. Let's actually pull up Nike and look at the anchor volume weighted average price from that day. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility that like we try to hit it here, got above it, pushed back down. So this earnings, wait. There it is. So this earnings volume weighted average price, it's tried a bunch of times. So if we can get above that, maybe that's the opportunity. And then what you can do is anchor from wherever the low is at that point and kind of keep an eye on that as a trailing stop or you know, around the prior swing low for Nike. Bonds yield, so the 10-year yield to TNX came down a little bit today off the lows, matching into this. Like, right, we down here we said that it's probably likely for a little bit of a bounce. We got the bounce up to and around 42. I think we said 43 to 44. It didn't quite reach up to that range, pulling in a little bit, which means that the TLT is probably catching more eyes. And I think that maybe bonds could be a play if you're, you know, if you're okay with the volatility. But I mean, I would say a play because you get yield, right? And it's probably going to be trading around this area. And if we do start to move up, cool. You not only get the benefit of yield, but you get, you know, the equity to increase as well. And so far, I mean, it's holding up rather well. But I don't necessarily think that we're just going to go into another bond bull market right out of the gate. But I also don't see like us necessarily just like tanking. So you'd have your stops like regular, you know, stop here, and it could be a longer hold. Maybe go to the weekly time frame and you can see a little bit better of a snapshot. Price is contracting here, getting pretty tight. Right. Somebody had mentioned SoFi. SoFi is coming into earnings, so obviously I'm not going to start no position now, but we'll take a look here and see what their expected move is for earnings. It's $1.13 expected move. So we're talking about a 16%, 15% implied move. This can take us up to about 840 as in the current stands to about, what did I say it was? 113, yeah. Down to and around $6.15. So yeah, it's a pretty large expected move coming in for SoFi. I honestly, I don't like, it's such a large move. I thought the trade looked good down here. We talked about that, I think, in trade ideas. And the move bounced, it came in a little bit, and then saw a little bit nice of a bounce. I thought that was the good trade. So if you took it down here and you're still in it, and if you're okay with price coming back down to break even, or maybe taking some off the table and then, you know, letting riders ride or whatever, to see if it can see a big nice move up, then all the power to you. Because if it does gap up and see a nice earnings gap, we can actually have continuation of that and actually see it go even higher. So that's, I mean, something to keep in mind there. SMCI, this one's just continuing to kind of just hold down at these lower levels, up at around the 200-day. I don't really like touching stuff like this. I think we can possibly see more clarification when earnings start to roll out. AMD is up slightly on the day. That's the big one to watch. I'm sure that can move things in the semiconductor space. The expected move for this guy coming into tomorrow is currently $12.28. So AMD could be right back up to that 200-day, or if we crack down, we can see it move down to and around about 130. Let's take a quick look at the markets here. So S&P 500 still holding up rather well. We still haven't tagged into the 5,500 level. That is an important zero-date level, as you can see right over here. That's that call wall for the day. Market net flow hasn't given us anything positive yet. So, you know, we have no convergence, right, on a bearish divergence. So we're seeing the market move up on that. But it's not supportive of like a really strong trend day in this current moment. Price can go up in this condition, but we don't really have an edge using market net flow when it looks like this. All right, let's take a look at, give me a second here. My back just snapped in half. Okay, so AT&T. AT&T is getting obviously a little sloppy after earnings, right? But we did have a nice earnings move. It's coming in a little bit here. I would just be patient with this one. I liked how it was setting up here, but we're coming into earnings. Saw a little bit of weakness, then it came back up. We saw some follow through, it came back down. It's a little bit sloppy, but overall, I'd say you know, we probably want to see how price doodles in and around this level, which is about 1935. So if let's just remove this and keep it simple, which is a horizontal line, and see how price kind of doodles around in this area and sets up. Because if it does, even if it comes in a little bit and sets up still, this could be another base in the longer term to see it continuation. Give me a second. Silver's still seeing a little bit of sell side here. I'm a little hesitant on silver. Like, yeah, can we potentially see a bounce in silver in the near future? Maybe, but like I thought that this was actually going to be the case to see silver actually go down. That's why I went short miners, is because silver's didn't put in a higher high. Gold miners did put in a higher high, right? And these miners, I mean, they're in bullish context, right? They're pulling back within, you know, it's a higher low as it stands right now. But I looked at like the BPGDM and it looks like that was overbought. So I got out of some of my short miners position. The reason why I'm saying miners when I'm looking at silver is because the correlation is literally like 1 for 1 for the most part. It's a very strong correlation between the two. So when divergences like this happen, it's at least worth considering. But yeah, so silver's coming in a little bit. I think that's going to be one to pay attention to. Copper is still coming in a little bit. I feel like if copper bounces, it could be an opportunity for Chinese equities, which is one that we talked about, I think, on the last stream. I think we looked at KWeb or FXI. I can't remember. And yeah, this one's up slightly on the day. Let's look at FXI. I think it was FXI. Yeah, up slightly on the day. And a lot of these Chinese names that have a strong correlation to copper are getting fairly tight. Luckin Coffee, I think we talked about here. Yeah, this was on the tight list this week, and we saw a little bit of a breakout of this. So first, it was on the tight week the prior week right here on this. Then it's on it again because we consolidated it right here, and we're having some follow through. Now, there's earnings around the corner here, so who knows what's going to happen with that. But nice little move there. I think we talked about Baba and Pinduoduo. And look at Baba, boom. So we popped out of that to the upside. That's up 2.39%. Let's check Pinduoduo. Down a little bit on the trading session. It's actually cracking under this 200-day. So this one I probably would be out of. I didn't take it, but I would be probably out, and I'd wait to see if it turns back up and reclaims 131.65. See how these like pop and then dropped? It just, and then also with like Baba, or like, you know, we popped hecka high and then we dropped. It's really following that same look to copper, right? We popped and then we dropped. Copper's just been getting hammered. Okay, let's take a look at XLU. Utilities still holding strong, right? It came into this little golden zone over here in a nice little flag pattern. After a nice move, consolidated, we broke out, we consolidated some more. We're kind of still consolidating, if I'm being completely honest here. Right, boom, we're kind of just consolidating there. So yeah, utilities still look pretty decent. Yeah, utilities still look strong. You might get some shakeouts here and there. I mean, this little trend right here actually might be one to watch just in case if it breaks down, but you can see that it's been kind of grinding higher on this little lower trend line here. JPM. Yeah, I think banks look good. I think they might need to take a little bit of a relax, little vacation here soon, because they went so high and far. So JPM and Goldman Sachs, kind of the same situation. But there are some that have been consolidating that you know, might look like they're ready to make a move. Like AXP is still consolidating here nicely. Was it a Capital One Financial that looked like it was kind of consolidating? Yeah, after earnings, right? This is kind of consolidating here in this area. We talked about, obviously, Berkshire. That was back over here. And this one broke out like a maniac. And this one's also consolidating here nicely. Kind of looks like the Apple consolidation, right? So remember when Apple broke out like crazy and then it consolidated like this, right? Apple broke out like crazy, consolidated, and then we saw a nice follow through. Apple right now too, also, I put this in trade ideas because I know earnings is around the corner, but we did see a nice little pullback. So kind of like this risk zone in here, and then the potential reward. You don't even have risk this high. You can have risk a lot lower, but just know that earnings is around the corner. I don't establish new positions into the earnings, but perhaps perhaps we do get a little bounce prior to earnings. Still no convergence over here. S&P 500 kind of doodling in and around these levels, just chopped in the zone. We talked about Starbucks. Somebody had mentioned Disney earlier. Yeah, Disney's catching a little bit of a bid here. Earnings are around the corner. I mean, not surprised, right? It's been selling off like crazy, ripping people to shreds, and then now it's finally seen a little bit of reprieve. Big deal. Right, we haven't seen this move digest yet, so I'd say, yeah, we can get some continuation, see if it comes in a little bit, puts in a higher low, see if it consolidates, see if the 5-day moving average starts to turn back up and set something up. And earnings is coming too. Maybe it does a McDonald's move, right? So where things get destroyed, and even if earnings come out bad or whatever, we still see a potential decent move on earnings. Okay, PSA. So public storage does look pretty darn good. So where you can see we came into this prior high that we started at the year-to-date start mark, and we're just consolidating here nicely. I really like the look of this chart. I really just hate how earnings is, in a few days, few trading days, right? So if I go into the trade tab and we look at when earnings is at, it's like a $19 expected move, about a $20 expected move. So from where we currently stand, it brings us up to around 320, maybe a little bit higher, or back down to around the 200-day moving average, right in that area. So the chart looks really good, in my opinion, but unfortunate that this is, so I'll typically wait and just see if we get a nice bullish candle, and if we do, then I'll wait for the consolidation, try to trade up. But overall, like if earnings wasn't a factor for some, I mean, it looks pretty solid. Looks like a good setup, good chart. Right, and we're seeing the 20-day holding, the 50-day, the 200-day starting to turn up here. We pulled back, we saw some strength, we're pulling back. It's like a shorter base and a bigger base. It's a pretty clean looking chart. Like I would definitely be long this now probably if it wasn't for that earnings. Thanks, Joylyn. Take a look at PayPal. Take a look at shop. So we'll look at PayPal, shop, Backstreet. I did just go over XLU. Did you manage to catch that? PayPal. Let's see what PayPal's been up to. So PayPal has earnings around the corner, so I can't really do much analysis on PayPal, but I can show you what the expected move is right now, and that's about we're just going to say $5. $5 expected move on PayPal. So after earnings, I mean, we could see this thing, right back up to and around 64 on just a 1 standard deviation move. Or if it breaks down, I have a hard time believing it's going to break down. But if it does break down, it could be setting up for one of those, like, because it's been getting so hammered, one of those like it breaks down sort of thing and then closes at the high of the trading session. Could be potential, like, is PayPal going to get some love eventually ever? Or is it just going to die off, right? market net flow, it's actually gaining, it's the convergence right here is waning. So if this starts turning red again, I'd watch out. But yeah, it's not, market net flow is not giving us really a strong edge as it stands right now. It did when it turned gray from being in a negative divergence. And then we saw a little bit of a continuation to the upside, a little follow through. But right now it's, the convergence is basically going flat. And if S&P 500 starts to come down, this can turn red again, and it could give us insight that we might see some further downside. But it is not really much of a strong edge here, other than just the negative divergence. So it's not showing us good strength, that's for sure. Oh, thanks, Big Hand. Take a look at MSO. Is MNSO, is this a Chinese equity by any chance? I can't remember. I mean, can we see a potential bounce in these lower areas? Yeah, absolutely. Just, I mean, the trend is pretty rough here. I feel like if I bought in right here just to play a bounce, like I'd be biting my fingernails every single day. Like it just ain't letting up right now. Not much of a fan of the look of that. Like, right, it is getting tight. Like, I will say that it is getting fairly tight here. So the move might come quick, and it's happening to do so, like in this lower area. So if you are long, maybe a stop under these lows, like this zone in here. But that's a pretty big move too. Like that's, 7 or 8%, yeah, 6, 7%. Not horrible there. But if we are right and we do see Chinese stocks bounce, I think this one's from China. I can't remember, but maybe this one plays a role in that too. PayPal will probably die. Yeah, I mean, could very well could. I mean, we've seen other companies die off that we thought that would never go away, but look like so obvious in hindsight. I feel like they're a big enough company to adapt and change. Hopefully so, I feel like somebody had mentioned something, but I forgot to pull it up. Oh yeah, DHR. DHR. Yeah, this one looks pretty good. I mean, we just hit new highs the other day for the year, right? On earnings, and it's just consolidating up here. I would prefer to see a couple more days of consolidation and set up a little bit better where I know to put my stop. If I'm looking at this right now, I'd probably be like, okay, if I want to go long right now, what do I do? I'd go into DHR like this, and I'd probably just anchor a volume weighted average price to this low, and I'd see that we're kind of right in that area. So if I'm long it, I'd probably have my stop right here. So if I go long right now, I'd be playing it up to here, try to swing high, maybe higher, and I'd have my stop right here at this swing low. Like that would be it. That would be the play for me. Honestly, it's not that bad of a setup right now, even for the day. See what I'm saying? So, pretty weak start for the day though there. LMT. Lockheed Martin. Yeah, I'm not going to touch that one right now. This thing's been on a monster move. Same with like other like defensive names. I think NOC, right? NOC was one of them. Big, strong move there. It wasn't GE, like aerospace also looking pretty strong here. Look at GE. This thing looks pretty good. Boom, we're consolidating right now. That looks pretty strong. Earnings already came. Probably going to go try to retouch those highs here soon. EJR, like an aerospace name too. ERJ. ERJ? Yeah, ERJ is one that we traded multiple times. This thing's consolidating up here too. What about RTX? Earnings, big old move. Look at this thing. This thing's consolidating its earnings move. Probably good to continue to watch this one, see how this one consolidates. Go to RTX. You can apply an anchor volume weighted average price to the earnings move. We're trading right at the earnings anchor volume weighted average price. So if we can get, maybe break back above this high right over here at like 114, maybe that opens the door for a pop back up. But right now it's kind of consolidating that. Thanks, Big Hand. I get it, man. I get the immediate reaction from a lot of people, and then they look into the stuff, and it is what it is, dude. I forgive and forget quickly. You like the background music? Makes it less stressful? That's funny. Yeah, I have pretty calm music on today. I'm trying to get relaxed into the vacation mode. All right, let's take a quick look at the markets here. See if we got anything else kind of happening here. Let's see what happened to market net flow. Still not changing much. I will say the green line's starting to pick up a little bit here. Nothing really crazy to get excited about. And the market's just trading in between the two zones that we marked out, right? 5,500, that's been a level that just keeps getting rejected. And it's not just a line on my screen, right? This is a very important level from a gamma perspective, and it has been. It's been a net gamma level, it has been, but then also it's been a 0-date level that's been really honed in on. So multiple days in a row that we've been live, right? We talked about how 5,500 could be a top. Now, I didn't know this is going to reject like that, right? So ignore what happened, because you don't know that that's going to happen in hindsight. But that level, it did hold up, and then it came back into it, right? And we rejected, and we came back into it, and we rejected. The more times that we try to test these levels, the more likely it is to eventually try to go for the break and try to get through it, right? The bulls are trying to step in. They're trying to get through it, but they keep getting pinned and thrown back to their camp, right? The bear camp down here, or the bull camp. So right now, we're very close to this gamma flip line, right? 55.25 is the gamma flip line. We're 25, 30 points away. The gamma flip line, once again, for those that might not know, is incredibly important to how the conditions of the market operate. When you're below a gamma flip line, which we have been, this is what you get: selling into selling. You get buying into buying. Very simply put, and we went over this last market brief when we went into the gamma levels. You go into SPX, you go into time series, and you look at net gamma. I want to show you very clearly here. This is the 0 line. Okay, this is the 0 line right in the middle of the screen. When it's light green, you're in positive gamma territory. That means you're above the flip line. When you're below the flip line, it shows the darker blue. And, we call this out that, okay, look at the beginning of May to basically July 17th. Beginning of May to July 17th. You're in positive gamma territory. When you're in positive gamma territory, the VIX, or volatility, should go down, liquidity increases, okay? This is the only proof you need as to why market conditions change. So this would be positive gamma territory, beginning of May to the mid-July, beginning of May, mid-July. So if I come out here and I look at the VIX, and we look at the beginning of May, which is right here, to mid-July, which is right here, what do you notice? Volatility coming down. Now, what happens right here? All of a sudden, in the middle of July to where we are now, you go into negative gamma territory. Boom. We see a massive move to the upside in volatility. I mean, not massive, but a lot more massive than what we've seen. So very, very simple to understand that how important this gamma flip line is. When you're below it, volatility is typically elevated and goes higher. When you're above the line, volatility comes in. When you're below it, volatility increases. And that doesn't necessarily mean bearish. I want to be very clear. Below a gamma flip line can obviously be bearish, and a lot of the bearish things happen when you're below gamma flip lines. But you also can see much more massive swings to the upside, because that's what negative gamma territory is. You get selling into selling. That's what dealers do. Sell, sell, sell. Then when all of a sudden things turn around, they go buy, buy, buy. And you could really see that here. You go buy, 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 sell, 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 sell. buy, and you get choppy, you get craziness, and we're still there. We're under gamma flip line, right? And we're below a declining 5-day moving average on top of that. So chop city, people, chop city. Okay, let's take a look. See ya, Moonraker. I'm gonna be hopping off here too. Oh, you're not saying bye bye. You're singing the lyrics of something. I am about to hop off here though too. You got to hit the showers. How do I feel about BABA and China stocks overall? Do you think China can inverse? I think that there's going to be opportunity there. I think China's in a tough place right now, economically speaking. So I think that there are some big names that you can potentially see for the long hold and the long term, but I don't think that they're like, I think in the short term you can definitely trade them, right? Like, so for example, on BABA, like this is what sucks. Like they're Chinese stocks, they gap like crazy. They move all around the place. But like, right, they set up like this, like to me, and then this prior trading day, it like started reversing. That to me looked like a good setup for a move higher. So I think that there's opportunities like that. I think it's going to go through some continued struggle. I mean, look at it's been kind of just going like this for a long time. So there is no trend here on things like BABA. It's flat, and you know, you can get worn out. Things just continue to go sideways for over and over. But long-term holds, yeah. Once we get through all this stuff, I think that there's definitely opportunity there. But right now, and then looking at copper, it's like, oh brother. And there are some various names. Like I like Pinduoduo, I do. I like how it looks. I don't like it where it's at right now, but you know, I liked how it was setting up. And if it comes back in, I mean, it could still potentially be a setup to come try to retest these highs. Another one that was working out pretty well was TME, right? And this thing's been holding up pretty well. But this one's been kind of just going sideways now. It's coming in a little bit. That one has earnings around the corner. I liked a lot of those education companies like EDU, right? But this one's been coming off. We have TAL, right? This one's getting pretty tight here. This one has earnings around the corner here too. So, I mean, some charts look decent. It's just the outlook on the Chinese economy right now in a lot of their equities, it's a little bit of a toss up for me. So if you are bullish, you can always just, you know, if you're uncertain, you can always go smaller sizes and then add to them if they start playing out. And if they don't play out well, you can be like, okay, well, I took my shot and I lost a little bit here, or you could build it to a larger position. There's a lot of ways to approach it. Yeah, FT, I'll see you later, man. I'm gonna be hopping off here too. This was, we're getting our, we're going through our backyard design right now. So we gotta go meet up with them and see what we got going. Link to the gamma indicator, Glenn. I don't have that, but I do source my gamma stuff from Gamma Labs. All right, everybody. I wanted to keep today's stream pretty quick, and to the point. We went over a lot of different names that was community recommended, and then I went over a lot of names that were in the tight list. If you're not in the Discord, those are some of the names, and I do that once a week. If you're interested in checking it out, you can check it out. It's not an expensive service. It's $9 a month, okay? And I give a lot of data out on there for $9 a month. It's not an alert service, although the whole Tradietics suite is in there. So you get like options flow, you get a scout bot in there that goes off of the strat, which is a strategy. And then you get a query channel where you can type in various commands and get data around certain stocks like gamma levels and so forth. Cool little community in there. Yeah, so if you want to check it out, you can check it out. And then if not, I do a lot of free content. Sometimes I give midday briefs, so you can join Patreon for free. And I post my midday updates there for free and paid members. And then obviously my YouTube channel is completely free too as well. I'm going to go try to relax. And I got vacation coming up here August 1st, August 4th. I'm just getting away for a little bit with some friends. Hope you all have a good week. Be safe out there. Don't do anything too crazy. And see you later. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Old Testament. See you, Glenn. See you, Mike. Big Hand. Thanks for coming in. Glenn, Jim Doe. Tams, hey, thanks Tams. They're showing up. See ya, Tony, Moonraker, later, FT, Next Door. See y'all out there. See ya Extra on Twitch, SPS, Makensky. Thanks for coming in. See ya, Crypto.